Rotten Stormy Daniels just woke to worst news of her life, Trump's forcing her. The saga of Stephanie Clifford continues. Clifford is better known to most Americans as Stormy Daniels, or the former adult film actress who claims she had an affair with President Donald Trump more than a decade ago. Recently, both the New York Times and NBC News reported that Trump's attorney Michael Cohen filed a restraining order against Daniels in an effort to prevent her from speaking publicly of her affair with Trump. The order was a result of arbitration between the two parties, with the end result being a non-disclosure agreement, NDA, issued by a California arbitrator. The NDA was signed by Daniels in October 2016, whereby she accepted $130,000 in exchange. At the time, Daniels was in talks with both Slate and Good Morning America to share her story in return for significant monetary compensation. Of course.A left-leaning election watchdog known as Common Cause has now petitioned the Federal Election Commission, FEC, as well as the Justice Department to investigate the $130,000 payment to Cohen. The group claims the payment could constitute some sort of in-kind contribution to the Trump campaign and therefore should have been disclosed to the FEC. Daniels has stated her previous relationship with Trump was of a consensual nature beginning in 2006 during a golf tournament in Lake Tahoe, Nevada. It soured after Trump did not secure a spot for her on The Apprentice. Now Cohen is accusing Daniels of violating the deal, and it could cost her some serious cash. The NDA details that Daniels is to fork over a cool $1 million in damages if she chose to breach it, per incident. Cohen states that Daniels has breached the agreement more than 20 times and he plans to go after her for a minimum of $20 million in accordance with NDA. Daniels, however, states, "Not so fast." Her attorney Michael Avenatti filed a lawsuit in Los Angeles Superior Court in an effort to invalidate the NDA she signed in 2016 on the basis that Trump never signed it just days before the November 2016 election. This came on the heels of Daniels losing the arbitration hearing and legally forced Daniels to adhere to the NDA after Cohen filed a restraining order against her in an effort to make her cease and desist. Daniels has also argued previously that she should not be bound by the agreement because Trump never signed it. Pseudonyms were used to sign the agreement in the names of Peggy Peterson and David Dennison, since court documents are a matter of public record and subject to unwanted media attention. Which is the purpose of the agreement in the first place, to avoid public knowledge and disclosure. Cohen is represented by attorney Lawrence Rosen. Rosen states that an arbitrator, who found that Ms. Clifford had violated the agreement, barred her from filing her lawsuit and making other disclosures of confidential information. Avenatti wants to make up the rules as he goes along and states the restraining order dated February 27 is not valid due to Cohen's own breach of the terms of the NDA when he publicly spoke about paying Daniels $130,000 last month. "I think it's time for her to tell her story and for the public to decide who's telling the truth," Avenatti stated, adding that his client would proceed with her lawsuit in open court. The restraining order did leave open the possibility of potential future modifications in the future should they become necessary. In what once appeared to be merely another nuisance lawsuit, things are heating up and getting serious, as Daniels is now being asked to publish all manner of text messages, photos, and video she may have of the president. The left-leaning mainstream media meanwhile is eating this up and then wonders why many do not take them seriously. For example, CNN ventured to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where Daniels was performing at the Solid Gold Gentlemen's Club. During an interview, Daniels stated crowds have been small, but she is getting far more bookings. The same thing happened in New York at a Long Island strip club known as Gossip Club New York, where Daniels performed and crowds failed to materialize. The New York Post reported of the event, stating, "Around midnight, Daniels came out wearing a Little Red Riding Hood costume and flaunted her curves to the crowd. "Anybody ready for Stormy Daniels? Make some noise," the DJ announced to a silent room. Daniels engaged the crowd and accepted tips in discreet places until she eventually dropped Little Red's riding hood to unleash all her assets. "This is horrible," one patron said during the performance. Another stripper slammed the appearance, which included 80s dance music as a cliché throwback. "It was trashy," the stripper said. "Kind of boring and real old school. And clearly, the money is not getting any better, as Daniels recently started a crowdfunding page on crowdjustice.com in an effort to raise money to fund her lawsuit against Trump, since apparently Avanity is not working pro bono for the porn star/stripper. So far she has raised more than $171,000 from various donors, and it looks like she might need every penny." On the crowdfunding page, Daniels states of the events and her reasons for crowdfunding amidst her seeming inability to gain crowds and funding from her previously lucrative sources. "I am attempting to speak honestly and openly to the American people about my relationship with now President Donald Trump, as well as the intimidation and tactics that he, together with his attorney Michael Cohen, have used to silence me. In order to tell my story, I have had to file a public lawsuit in Los Angeles, California, in an effort to void a non-disclosure agreement, NDA, that Mr. Trump never signed and yet is trying to use to intimidate me. Rather than agree that the NDA is invalid, thus allowing me to talk, Mr. Trump and Mr. Cohen have instead attempted to hide the facts from the public using a bogus arbitration proceeding and have threatened me with millions of dollars in damages, $1 million each time I speak out, if I tell the truth about what happened. I recently made an offer to return the $130,000 I was previously paid if it was agreed that I could simply tell the truth publicly. Mr. Trump and Mr. Cohen did not even bother to respond. I need funds to pay for attorney's fees, out-of-pocket costs associated with the lawsuit, arbitration, and my right to speak openly, security expenses, and damages that may be awarded against me if I speak out and ultimately lose to Mr. Trump.